Welcome back to the Crash the Pond podcast. It is a Monday, August 7th edition of the pod. We took a little bit of a week off against our will, partially, and now we're back.
Yeah.
Sort of. Trying to be back.
We're there. I'd say we're there.
Sometimes you get got.
Yeah.
I got by illness.
Yep.
And now back in the saddle, and thankfully, Jake, we actually have a lot to talk about.
This might be the most newsworthy episode we've had since the early parts of July, since free agency. As
far as August podcasts go, this is like really uncharacteristically news heavy.
Yeah,
so
it's
that's
actually
nice.
great. It's great. We don't have to just like go around some things, figure out some questions, come up with some topics. We actually have stuff to talk about. And I mean, the biggest one is definitely, right, Alex Stalock signing for the Ducks.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get there eventually. But
I mean, I find that way more interesting than it seems like a lot of other people do in our Discord.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. But the biggest news, the thing that we've all been waiting for, finally happened. The Ducks avoided arbitration with Troy Terry. It never got to the hearing. If you haven't seen the news by now, here it is. The Ducks and Troy Terry agreed a 7-year contract, $7 million AAV, and what more is there to really say except that Troy Terry is very good and very / extremely deserving of this contract.
Yeah, 100%. And it came down to the wire. They ended up having to extend the arbitration hearing because they were getting so close to that hearing and they were close on a deal. So they got an extension, I think, by the NHL for that. And they ended up signing him to that contract. And I think some people may say, well, why did it take this long to get there if they ended up valuing him and this was the contract he ended up getting in? At the end of the day, we talked about it at various different points in time, right? This was Troy Terry's leverage. Yeah. That arbitration hearing was his leverage. And he even actually had a quote in I think it was this Eric Stevens article today.
Yeah.
That was more or less his agent said like the day before, oh, there's still plenty of time. Like almost trying to calm him down that this wasn't a big deal. Here what it is. I'd ask my agent, was anything going on? And he'd be like, oh, there's plenty of time. But I'm like, the hearing's in a week. And he'd be like, nope, that's plenty of time. Just trust me. That's just how this goes sometime. And so 3-4 years on the line, no one's going to remember this. Everyone's going to remember the contract he's on. And it's it's exactly where he should be. And so I was curious. I don't know if you play around with this tool at all that much. CapFriendly has a comparable contract. And so you can compare this contract and it will pop up with some contracts that are similar to that. And largely due to cap hit percentage. And so what that means is you look at this deal and you look at it and you say, okay, 7 years, $7 million per year. And that may seem a lot if you're kind of adjusted to the Ryan Getzlaf contract, right, of $8.5 million and thinking, well, this is up there on that. And you have to always readjust to where the cap hit is when that was signed. And so the Ryan Getzlaf contract, for instance, I don't know why I'm going on this tangent a little bit right now, but I'll look up the cap percentage. But more or less, the percentage of cap is very different for this deal than that one. But so some of the comparables, Kevin Fiala, the one that he signed with the Kings, 7 years at 7.875. So that was for 9.55% of the cap. Troy Terry's at 8.38. Jesper Bratt just signed a deal of 8 years at 7.875, 9.55% of the cap. Josh Anderson's contract of 7 years, $5.5 million. That was 6.75% of the cap. Jonathan Huberdeau, when he signed his deal at 24, 6 years, $5.9 million. That was 8.08% of the cap. And so all of these names kind of, I think Huberdeau is the only one that really had a takeoff season, but it took a while to get there. And I think all of these guys, when you look at it, they all end up in the like 60, 70 point range, right? I think the Fiala, if you look at him, he had 85 points going into that contract season or into that contract that summer, but he's also making more than Troy Terry is. And so I think at the end of all of this is as long as Troy Terry keeps up the pace that he was the past 2 seasons and doesn't improve at all, this is exactly the right contract for where he is. And while we're talking about the cap hit when it's signed, it's going to become better and better as the cap keeps rising, because the one thing we've talked about at length with like Alex Killorn and things like that is the cap's expected to rise, I think, like about 10 million over the next 2 seasons, right? And so when you have that factoring in, this deal's gonna look like a steal in 2 years when second liners are getting $7 million a year. Maybe not that to that extreme, but still, like Troy Terry on this Ducks team, I think is a first liner no matter what. And it's a great value contract for this team, a great contract for Troy Terry. And so this is exactly what you want to see, a win-win for all parties.
Yeah, I think that there were maybe some fans had sticker shock of, 7 times 7 for Troy Terry, a guy who, 3 years ago wasn't really anyone in the NHL. But when you look at the level of play that he's brought the last 2 seasons, he had 37 goals 2 years ago. This season, he had a bit of dip in scoring goals, but he was still a 60-point guy. And just his ability to impact the game in all 3 zones, his ability to drive play, to defend. Troy Terry is a legitimate first liner on any team. It's not just because he's on the Ducks. Like, the way that he plays, it translates to any type of style, to any type of system. And this is the going rate for a first line winger who's in that age range. And so I don't think that this is like a steal by the Ducks. I also don't think that Troy Terry, got like exactly maybe what he wanted. Maybe he wanted more cap hit. Who knows? But this is just like you were saying, a fair deal for both sides. And the Ducks are going to get, as long as Troy Terry just remains what he's been, he doesn't have to improve. You're paying for what he is now. And the way he plays, I mean, honestly, like, barring injury, and you can say that about any player, it should hold, and he should be full value for at least the next 4 years or so.
Yep. And so I found Ryan Getzlaf's percentage of cap when he signed. So his deal was 8.25 for the AAV. So only 1.25 mil more than what Troy Terry's getting on this contract. Yeah. That was for 12.83% of the cap, though, versus 8% of the cap for Troy Terry. And so a better comparison, and this was one that I came up with kind of right away, because when Adam Henrique signed his contract, I think he was like 29 years old, maybe 28 years old. That contract was for 5 years at 5.825 mil per year, and that was for 7.33% of the cap. Troy Terry's, to kind of go back to it, is 8.38. And that ended up being, we criticized that contract at the time because of the 5 years, because of aging curves and everything like that. But Adam Henrique was able to become a great player over the course of that contract, and I think provided actually proper value for the Ducks on that deal. And he was about a 40 to 40 point guy for the Ducks over the course of that deal. Maybe slightly below value when you think about it like that, but kind of compare that to this Troy Terry deal. If Troy Terry, like you said, stays 60 points, like, perfectly good value for him. And I think that even if he does take a little bit of a downturn near the end of the deal with the cap rising, that is not going to be hard to deal with because of that.
Well, and he's also much younger than Adam Henrique was when he signed. So you're going to get, it's not like with Adam Henrique where the number was, I mean, that the Adam Henrique contract was fair value, but also you're paying a guy for more so what he's done than what he is at that point in time.
I think the contracts are going to end at a similar age.
Yeah, but Troy Terry is younger now when he signed it.
Yes, but it's a 7-year deal versus a 5-year deal, but yes.
Correct. But the point is that you're actually going to get Troy Terry's prime years, whereas with Adam Henrique, I mean, the fact that Adam Henrique is playing well at this point is more of like, relatively speaking, like he's had a couple of good seasons, but it's more so the fact that you're expecting him to decline at this point. And so the fact that he's fighting it off is more of like added value. It's more of like a bonus. Whereas Troy Terry, I think you can realistically expect him to be a full value first liner for another 4 or 5 years. Yep. That's not something you could have said when Adam Henrique signed his contract.
And I think probably the deal the Ducks, or that Troy Terry looked at the most when negotiating this, was probably the one that was just signed by Jesper Bratt. That 8-year deal for
it's also a similar age range for him.
Similar age range, 7.875. And if you look at Jesper Bratt, he's had the last 2 seasons been great. 73 points each for the last 2 years. The COVID shortened season, 30 points in 46 games. So really good that year also. But pretty big jump to go from 30 and 46 to 73 and 76. And Troy Terry, similar thing, 20 points and 48 in the COVID season, jumped to 67 and 75 and 61 and 70 last year. And so it makes sense that he came in a little short AAV wise of Jesper Bratt because he's didn't score as much as him. But I think that when you compare it to that and think about that setting the market for this deal, I mean, we're just kind of walking around this a bunch of saying this is a fantastic deal for the Ducks, fantastic deal for Troy Terry, and right around where it should have ended up being. I mean, Troy Terry's going to be a Duck for the next 7 years. That is a great thing.
That's the biggest thing here is that I think that we've all wondered who does Pat Verbeek see as part of this team's core? Who is the core according to Pat Verbeek? Because he hasn't really had to make these big sweeping moves like this one. He has a couple more to make this summer, which maybe we'll talk about later on. But this is Pat Verbeek announcing very loudly and clearly that Troy Terry is an integral part of this team's core for the remaining, I mean, really the remaining prime of his career. And I think that just shows, if nothing else to me, that Pat Verbeek sees and evaluates this team correctly from that point of view. Because I think that if the Ducks had really hardballed Troy Terry and you get to that point where he signs a 1-year deal, it's just really a suboptimal outcome. And the Ducks avoided that, and they didn't just avoid it. They put their stamp on this, and now they have Troy Terry locked up for the rest of his prime. And I mean, now Troy Terry is in a position where I think that the calls for him becoming the captain are only going to grow louder and louder, but you can actually build with him now. You don't have to have this, hanging over your head. There's no uncertainty. Now it's just full speed ahead. And I think it's going to be really exciting to see how he can grow as a leader and just how he can continue to expand his game. Because if we've learned anything about Troy Terry in the last few years, it's that he's always looking to improve. He's always adding things to his game. So I wouldn't be surprised if, he has another season where he really goes off and shows us something else that we hadn't seen.
And the other point of this is we talk about it so much that guys get a pass, I think, for Dallas Eakins a little bit, that we want to see them not underneath Dallas Eakins. We don't really talk about that too much with a guy like Troy Terry, do we? Because he's
almost exactly. He's the one who defied that, where he was good in spite of Dallas Eakins. It's funny, I had forgotten about this, but the year where he broke out for 37 goals, he was a healthy scratch in the first 5 games.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time it being this whole dispute of, is he hurt or is he a healthy scratch? And he was a healthy. Yeah, and he was a healthy scratch. And it just goes to show, and this is kind of like a good moment to just take stock of this great story that is Troy Terry. I mean, he's a 5th-round pick.
Yeah.
His coach never trusted him. He shuttled back and forth between the minors his first few years. Dallas Eakins often had him as a healthy scratch, despite him playing some solid hockey. And despite all of that, he persevered. He grew his game to a level that just even his most ardent believers really didn't see coming. And now here he is signing a life-changing contract that's going to set him up financially for the rest of his life. Like it is a really crazy story if you think about it.
He went from undesirable to unfreaking deniable.
Is that a wrestling thing?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, that sounded very wrestly,
yeah,
but it's true. I mean, it that's really what happened, and it's honestly rare that you see these kind of stories anymore. I feel like in the NHL, just because it's such a scouted league, you don't really see guys come out of nowhere anymore, and yet Troy Terry managed to beat that trend, and it's just cool. It's cool that we got to witness that.
Yeah, and I mean, there was the interview that the Ducks put up that was him and Max Jones talking, and you could just kind of see him and how happy he is. And it's like, this is someone that's really gone through it all, especially those two together, right? Yeah. Those two came up through the minors, worked their way to this team together. And you could just see how happy Max Jones was for him and how much they were just kind of like enjoying it together. And I think that was really, really cool to see.
Well, especially you think about that class of players, that class of prospects. You think back, when you would always hear about the Ducks' next wave, it would be Troy Terry, Max Jones, Sam Steele, Max Comtois, Josh Mahura. There's someone else that I'm forgetting right now, Jacob Larson, right? Like that was kind of like the next wave, and almost all those guys are gone except Max Jones and Troy Terry. And so I think that it must be pretty special for those two to be able to share that moment. And I mean, hey, Max Jones so far his NHL career hasn't been probably what he hoped for, but I think maybe even just being around a guy like Troy Terry, that has to give you some level of perseverance, thinking, hey, he stuck through some pretty tough times and he made his career into something amazing. Why couldn't I do that if I just stick to it? So I think that's what's cool now, is that we all kind of know the Troy Terry story, but the story's not finished yet. Like there's 7 more years of it.
It's just beginning. And I mean, you think about it like this, right? The Ducks contending window is probably going to open in the next couple seasons. And Troy Terry is now going to be here for all of those. And I think the Eric Stevens article that came out today, I think was really, really fascinating to read. I think that it was one of Eric's best articles that he's written. It was just, he summarized things, added information, wove a story that I think just was absolutely fantastic. And I think some of the things that really came out of that is that Troy Terry should be the captain of this team.
Yeah.
Like, I just think there's no doubt in my mind.
Which we've been saying, by the way, for like a year.
Yeah, but like you look at just the little things, right? The fact that he would watch Ryan Getzlaf's press conferences to understand how Ryan Getzlaf handled those situations. And just observing that type of thing and understanding that that's probably something he should see how to handle himself there. It really shows when you see his interviews, right? And just how not only polished, but how, because Ryan Getzlaf, I think, he never gave you typical hockey speak.
He was robotic, but in his own way. It was really weird, where he had a little bit of attitude in like a fun way to his answers, but without really saying much of anything either. Troy Terry is definitely the opposite of that.
Sure, but I think that he kind of adds a little bit of that same element. You can see the influence there, I guess, is where I'm going with it. But I think the other piece is kind of when you look at what he said at the end, is that he talks to Ryan Getzlaf and Paul Kariya on the regular. Like, those are the two guys that he talks with the most. And those are the two most iconic captains in franchise history.
Yeah.
And
it just seems like he cares.
Yeah.
For just to kind of simplify it down here, he just really cares. He cares about being a leader. He cares about his place in kind of Ducks history. And if it seems like we're kind of waxing about this, we are, like, because it's just a story that we've followed and that we've seen the ups and the downs.
You think about the first season we did this podcast.
Yeah.
That was one of the first kind of weird things I decided to say on the show, was that Troy Terry is going to play a game for the Ducks this season.
Yeah.
And I think that from that point on, it was something of just kind of watching his game, watching his career. And there was something, I think, there that made me excited to see him, and thinking the Ducks also valued that. And I think to have this guy essentially prove what I saw back then, and it's all on him. But it's been really fun to watch and fun to see this story kind of unfold in front of us.
Yeah, exactly. And to just kind of wrap this up, I would say that now we just wait and see kind of how he can grow into his role the next few years. He just continuing to establish himself as a first liner, potentially being a captain. But I think regardless of if Troy Terry is captain or not, he's very clearly going to be a leader on this team. And just his story is such an easy sell if you're a coaching staff to say, hey, look at this guy. He wasn't a top pick. He wasn't a guy who really got handed much as a prospect, and he found a way to defy all of that and just will his way to becoming a star.
Is he Martin Madden's best find?
I mean, I think if you look just at the draft, like the ranking value, against the pick itself, he has to be.
Yeah.
148th overall to get this kind of player is not the norm whatsoever. I mean, I think that ultimately Leo Carlsson probably ends up being the best Ducks draft pick with Martin Madden, but that's different.
I'm not talking about the best player that they draft. I'm talking about the best value that they got.
The best value would be Troy Terry without question.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there will be arguments for Andre Kasha, but
I think you can maybe make an argument for like a Josh Manson.
Yeah, Josh Manson. But the thing is, Josh Manson was what, a 4th round pick?
Yeah.
5th round? So it was
4th.
It was either 4th, 5th, or 6th. But
I'll double check that.
I don't think that he became the level of player that Troy Terry became, although he became a very solid defenseman. And Andre Kasha, I mean, the fact that as what I think is a 7th round pick that he is even
Nope, you're right. 6th round pick for Josh Manson.
Okay, well, one of my 3 was right. But Andre Kasha, it's just the injuries. But he was a 7th rounder, and he managed to crack the NHL. So,
yeah,
Martin Madden's good at drafting.
Yeah,
but Troy Terry, I think, is truly his kind of bat flip moment, because that is a guy who you got in the mid rounds and he became a star. That just doesn't happen very often.
Yep.
So, on that note, should we move on to maybe less exciting news for a young Ducks player?
Yep, let's do it.
So Isac Lundestrom tore his Achilles in summer training, and he's going to be out until January. I mean, and January is just kind of the hope.
At least January.
We don't actually know, because I think the turnaround for an Achilles tear is 6 to 9 months.
Yeah.
And so he tore it, I think it was in June.
Well, if they're saying at least January, then that means that's the 6 months range.
Yeah. So he could miss almost all of next season, basically.
Yeah.
And I got to say, this is just horribly disappointing, because Isac Lundestrom is one of our top candidates of guys that I want to see under not Dallas Eakins.
Yep.
And now to see that he's going to be right. It's almost like the Jamie Drysdale situation last year, but maybe even worse, where it's a guy that you feel like there's potential for him, and now he gets robbed of a great opportunity, and we're just going to have to wait and see how many games he even plays next season.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely frustrating, because you look at a lot of the micro stats that we'll look at from time to time, and he's a guy that really grades out well in transition, but the puck just kind of dies on a stick in the offensive zone, and it almost just feels like he needs to be surrounded by better players or have a different coach deliver a different message for him once he's in the offensive zone to just essentially utilize him properly. Yeah. And it's a shame that this happened.
Well, it's a shame for his wallet, too, because he's an RFA.
I was about to get there. Yeah, he's going to be an RFA this upcoming summer. And if you remember correctly, he filed for arbitration last summer. And that's how but they ended up settling on a 2-year deal for $1.8 million. I kind of wonder the first question is, I think the Ducks would probably still offer him a qualifying offer. I don't think that they would just cut bait after this type of season. But I do wonder if he would just take that QO. Because there's no, arbitration is not going to do anything, because he missed half of this past season, right?
Yeah.
That's I think the hard part for him is he missed 21 games. So he missed 21 games last season, and this upcoming season he's going to miss probably about at least 40 games, at least half the season.
He's missing half the season almost for sure. And then it's a question of how much more will he miss, because he might not be back till March.
Well, and here's the thing. Even if he's back in January, who knows what percentage of health he's going to be at. Right?
Yeah, I mean...
how long it's going to take him to get back up to NHL speed after that.
Yeah, and Achilles is no joke. I mean, think about when you're skating and you're flexing that ankle to push off. I mean, your Achilles... I mean, it's true for anything, but everything runs through your Achilles when you're moving. So, yeah, it's going to be really challenging for him, and... I mean, really, the hope is that he can be back by January and just get up to speed and hopefully just have at least a good stretch, down the remaining months of the season. But that's like a best case scenario. So it just really sucks. I feel bad for him. It sounds like it was just kind of a freak accident. It wasn't anything he wasn't on a scooter or something, doing something dumb. It just sounds like it was just a training injury, and hope. I mean, This isn't like a death knell for his career or anything. I mean, he can still definitely come back and be fine, but it just sucks. We're not happy about it for him, and wishing him all the best, really. Now, though, the question becomes, the Ducks are down their third-line center. They're presumed third-line center. And so what do they do now is a very fascinating question, because there's a lot of candidates, but there's not necessarily a lot of candidates that you're excited about or that for sure are proven NHL talents.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting, because I think there was a lot of conversation when it happened about, okay, what does this mean for Leo Carlsson? Because I think it's an easy thing to think about, right? You see a center for the Ducks go down and make that case.
JD Davis home run. Let's go.
Yeah, the Angels had taken a 2-1 lead, though.
Well, now it's tied.
So. Yeah, I know. I see.
Thank you for reminding me about the lead that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
That's very nice of you.
Well, they were down 1-0, and now they're tied. So it's all working itself out. But and what does that mean for Leo Carlsson? I don't know if this injury necessarily means anything. I guess the real question is whether or not Isac Lundestrom was going to be the third line center or the fourth line center on this team. And so I guess maybe that question gets answered, and with him not being there, and that makes it easier for Leo Carlsson to slot right into the third line center role. Yeah. And there's not as much of a question there as there might have been with Isac Lundestrom, but I think most likely Lundestrom probably would have been the fourth line center, with Carlsson being the third line center. So I think what this probably more so does is opens the door for a Bo Grew or maybe a Nathan Gaucher to make the team.
Yeah, I mean, here's two things. So one, this probably increases the chances that Carlsson gets NHL games, although I think he's probably getting NHL games anyway.
Yeah.
But my own opinion is that this should have no bearing on what you do with Leo Carlsson
100%
longer term.
And I don't think it was going to.
I don't think it was going to, but it bears just stating that Leo Carlsson is a longer term game. I mean, that was the entire rap about him throughout the draft process, and that hasn't just changed all of a sudden because Isac Lundestrom is hurt. Leo Carlsson, whatever you do, you're doing it independent of anything else. And if it happens to be that the NHL is the best league for him, which I severely doubt, but let's say that that's the case, then you do it on those merits and not because there's an opening. But yes, to what you were saying, though, the ramifications are very interesting for a player like Bo Grew, who is entering a stage in his career where you're getting into put up or shut up territory with a player like that. Nathan Gaucher is very young. He's going to be a rookie pro, whether it's in the AHL or the NHL. But I think that this at least cracks open a little window of opportunity for him to make the team. Those are really the two names to me that come to mind, because outside of that, I mean, are you going to put Sam Carrick at fourth line center?
I mean, it's possible. I mean, Sam Carrick last year was not very good, but the year before, was solid. Yeah,
and I think he's had some health stuff going on too. So I think that with Sam, I think what they likely do is Sam Carrick. This is just speculation, of course, but I think what they do is Sam Carrick is going to be one of those centers, and then one of the young guys takes the other spot. Because I can't see them doing Grew and Gaucher. I mean, maybe they do it anyway, but I just don't really see that being the case. I think that no matter what, you have to give one of those spots to a younger player. A, because you don't really have a choice, but also B, you want to see. I think you need to see at this point what Bo Grew can do in the NHL. He's 23, and I just don't really know how much more developmental runway there is for him. He's entering that stage of he probably is what he's going to be or close to it, and so you want to see what that looks like in the NHL, because last time we saw him in the NHL, it was not super exciting. The skating looked pretty limited. The playmaking was limited as well. He had a good season in San Diego last year, and so now I'm hoping for him and for his career that he can come in and show you something. He's going to be 24 in February, by the way.
So let's assume that the top six is Troy Terry, Alex Killorn, Adam Henrique, Ryan Strome, Trevor Zegras, and McTavish. Sorry. Him being on an ELC kind of put him lower on the cap-friendly list. So let's assume that that's the top six. So here are the names that are left for this Ducks team outside of that. You have Jakob Silfverberg, Frank Vetrano, Brock McGinn, Leo Carlsson, Sam Carrick, Brett Leeson. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 6 guys right there.
Yeah, but Leo Carlsson likely makes that 5 after a few games. I don't think he's sticking around all season.
I mean, we'll see.
Do you really do you think he plays more than 9 games?
I think so.
Really? So you think that they're willing to burn that first year?
I think that doesn't matter for them. I think it's if he is proving that he is at that caliber, then he will stay in the NHL.
Okay, but that's an if. What do you think actually happens though? Do you think that he sticks around past 15 games or what have you?
I think
he plays a significant chunk of the season.
I think he plays a significant chunk of the season. I think if he is playing well but not dominating, they'll send him to the World Juniors.
See, these are all conditional statements. I want to know what you actually think will happen.
I think he's in the NHL for 60 games next season.
Wow. Okay.
I'm going to probably be dead wrong. I have no reason for this. I'm just, you asked me a question and I gave you an answer.
You're waffling around and I just want to know what you think.
Okay.
I don't care about your scenarios. But yes, sure, if he's playing well and he looks like he belongs, they'll give him more games, but I just have a hard time seeing him sticking around.
Back to kind of where I was going before we take a quick little break here. But so let's say Leo Carlsson, Brock McGinn, Max Jones, Frank Vetrano, Sam Carrick, and Brett Leeson. Those are the 6. So one of those guys has to be scratched then. So probably Leeson, if that's the case, for a Bogru.
Is Brett Leeson on this team this season?
He maybe, who knows? So I think that there's a chance, though, when you look at that Nathan Gaucher or a Bogru is there. Because, I don't see Brett Leeson necessarily mattering.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
Simple way to put it.
But yeah, with Bogru, I just think that they're going to look for him to get that opportunity in part. Like, it just makes sense that it just, where he's at in his career plus the openings on the team, it's going to line up. It might not happen right away out of training camp because I do think Leo Carlsson will play on the Ducks out of training camp, but then once he goes back to wherever he goes, then I would look for maybe some things to change there. But it's not necessarily this great big shakeup with Lundestrom being hurt, but it does just create that kind of uncertainty at that spot. And if you were to bet, so you're basically saying that Leo Carlsson will be the third line center this season.
Yeah, I don't think that the top 6 is as locked in as I said. I think it's going to be mixed around for a top 9 more so.
Okay,
with those other guys strewn in.
Leo Carlsson is one of your top 3 centers this season.
Yes, I'm going. Okay, there. Why not?
I'm
smoking the hopium.
I'm trying to think who I would put there that realistically sticks, because I think that Bogru will get a chance, but I don't know if he sticks around. So, I'll make a prediction here. Let's go with Nathan Gaucher. You know what? Why not? I think
who's the third line center?
I think that him and Carrick just kind of platoon.
Third and fourth line.
I just think Nathan Gaucher is a prototypical Verbeek player, and I predicted he'd make the team last year. It obviously did not work out for me, but I'm going back to the well. I honestly just don't see Bogru pulling it off. Maybe that's a little harsh, but I just don't see him pulling it off. So
all right. So today we're here for a sponsor for your bouncing bundle of joy. No, we're not talking about a baby. We're talking about your baby makers. That's right. Today's show is brought to you by Manscaped. But just like babies, your delicate little guys have sensitive skins and deserve products that are not only skin safe, but made with safe ingredients. That's where Manscaped's Platinum Package comes in. From razors to shower care, this package goes above the gold standard for your body hair. So treat your beautiful boys to the world's finest toys at manscaped.com. Use our code CTP for 20% off plus free shipping. The Manscaped Platinum Package 4.0 is the one-stop shop for the man who deserves it all. They designed this package to allow you to fully align your entire hygiene routine with elite products. Inside this Platinum Package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Ultra Premium Body Wash, Ultra Premium 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner, Ultra Premium deodorant, Crop Preserver anti-chafing ball deodorant, Crop Reviver ball spray toner, anti-chafing boxers, and the Shed travel bag to hold your goods while traveling. The Lawnmower 4.0 body trimmer and Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer feature proprietary advanced skin-safe technology to protect your delicate parts and holes. Both are waterproof so you can shave with less mess. In addition to shaving, you can now upgrade your shower routine with the Ultra Premium Body Wash and Ultra Premium 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. You'll have your skin and hair feeling hydrated and smelling fresh. Don't forget to apply their aluminum-free Ultra Premium deodorant for that cologne quality scent on the go. The Platinum Package 4.0 covers all bases from head to toe and hair to ball fro. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code CTP at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code CTP. Use the Platinum Package because the gold standard is no longer good enough.
If I could go the rest of my life without hearing you say holes ever again, I would be just fine.
Salem, for whatever reason, was very excited about the ad read because she jumped up onto my desk during that, and I had to get her away.
My life would be just fine if I didn't have to say Holes.
Every time I say Holes, I'm like trying to get a glimpse of you because I know you hate it.
I mean, I don't actually hate it. It's just not the best. It's not the most ideal. Anyway,
thank you, Manscaped. Matt's saying the real reason we tune into CTP.
Yep. I hope that's not true, but also, hey, whatever. Any publicity is good publicity. Okay, let's should we talk about Verbeek comments next or Alex Stalock? I guess
Let's do this really quickly. It came out. Derek had tweeted about it that Jakob Silverberg suffered another blood clot during the World Championships, likely from a block shot during the tournament. He's currently on blood thinners and expects to be ready for the start of the season. So, not anything necessarily to impact the start of the season, but just something I hope he's doing okay.
I hope so too, and I hope that he is absolutely good to like play NHL hockey. That he's not pushing it unnecessarily. So we'll just have to wait and see. Don't really want to speculate on that too much. Yep. Let's talk goalies. Let's talk goalies. So today, fresh off the stove, fresh out of the oven, fresh off the grill. I'm running out of analogies here, but fresh news. The Ducks signed a goalie, Alex Stalock, to a 1-year contract and $800K. And on one hand, this could be a nothing move. On the other hand, I think that this is at least an intriguing move because the Ducks have 2 goalies in the NHL, John Gibson and Lucas Dostal, and they have 2 goalies in the AHL in Callie Klang, who's coming over, and Gage Alexander. Where do you see... First off, I guess we should address, is Alex Stalock any good? And Alex Stalock was okay last season for the Blackhawks. I think he played in 27 games and had like a .908.
Yeah. And
his expected goals, his GSAX was almost even, which, like we've talked about, playing on that crappy of a team is kind of good. Before that, he missed some time due to complications from COVID. And prior to that, he was kind of playing his way out of the NHL a little bit. So he had a really good bounce back season last year, all things considered. And now here he is with the Ducks to kind of shuffle the deck chairs a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, your initial statement of this is a nothing move is kind of where I fall on this.
So if it's a nothing move, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Where does everyone play?
So I was going to get there. So first off, he's 36 years old. I think that's an important piece of this. 1-year deal, $800,000 cap it. It is a one-way deal, so if he is in the minors, he is going to be making that same amount of money. That typically ends up not mattering that much, to be honest, especially when you're talking about $800K. And I think for the Ducks, probably what they wanted with this deal is they wanted a veteran guy that has played in the NHL, that they have no concerns about being claimed off of waivers, that they could send down to the minors and call back up and play him if they end up having injuries like they did last year. Because as of last year, right, the Ducks had Olli Eriksson playing games. And I think that they probably did not want that same situation of having a Dostal and Callie Klang, a Dostal and Gage Alexander. Yeah. And so I think that is why this deal was made, to add depth within the organization, where you have a guy that has played NHL games as recent as last year, is getting paid and probably was happy to sign with the Ducks because he's going to be able to live in San Diego near the end of his career. And so he's probably going to go down to San Diego, probably split the starter duty with Callie Klang or Gage Alexander. And I think the other one of those two is going to end up going to the ECHL and probably play almost every game in the ECHL. I think going to the ECHL as a goalie is not completely abnormal.
No, I think what's interesting about this is that I think there's multiple layers. So I think on one layer, which is what you're addressing right now, is the depth piece, which is true that right now, as things stand, or as things stood before this move, if one of Gibson or Dostal gets hurt, you're calling up a very unproven goalie to the NHL. And I think that's just a scenario you'd prefer to avoid if you're the Ducks. I think the other layer to this that's kind of interesting is that Lucas Dostal is still waiver exempt. And so he's waiver exempt for another season. And as we've seen historically with John Gibson, there's going to be stretches of time where he's playing a lot of games consecutively. And I wonder if the Ducks are thinking, if we can just send down Dostal to get some games, while instead of just sitting on the bench, we don't really care if Alex Stalock is the one riding the pine. But if we can get Lucas Dostal some extra development and kind of get away with it, have our cake and eat it too, that's just like a bonus as well. So
That's fair.
I could see that being a factor in this as well. And also there's just the piece that Lucas Dostal is not like they really like him, and I think that he's worth the hype, but also you don't really know what you're going to get out of him this upcoming season. He's never played more than 21 games in the NHL. So regardless, it could be a big jump for him in playing time. And so just kind of having an additional security blanket in Stalock, it doesn't hurt either.
Yeah, and I mean, Elliot Friedman, I think on a 32 Thoughts pod near the end of the season, basically was like, I think when talking about John Gibson potentially trading him, is that the Ducks are like trying to find starts for Lucas Dostal because of the fact of the matter is they view him as a potential starter for them, and so they want to get him starts. They think he's an NHLer. They want to get him games in the NHL. And so the pushback I'll have briefly though is we don't know how Greg Cronin's going to run John Gibson. The playing 10 straight games.
Look how everyone has look at how everyone who's coached John Gibson, who's managed John Gibson, has allowed him to run freely.
So Randy Carlyle and Dallas Eakins.
Yeah, but also Pat Verbeek and Bob Murray. Like, it's been the same with everyone. Like,
I don't know. I don't necessarily know though. I mean, this is now a completely different situation.
Like, is Pat Verbeek just like helpless here? That he can't say anything?
When was the last time that there was a young guy that was the backup for John Gibson?
I guess that's not the point. The point is just that the Ducks have been happy to let John Gibson play himself into the ground.
The scenario is completely different, though. It has to be part of the point. It was always having a veteran backup like a Ryan Miller, like a Jonathan Bernier.
I mean, look, if you're saying that they're all of a sudden not going to play John Gibson that way, that could be true, but we don't have any precedent for that.
No, we don't, but also the situation with...
And also, Lucas Dostal was on the team last year, and they still played John Gibson that way. It didn't really change once Dostal came up.
Once he was up, it was different, though. Because, a lot of times it was because John Gibson was hurt for part of it, so that's why he played at different lengths. We didn't really ever have a situation, though, where it was Gibson fully healthy and it was Lucas Dostal as the backup for a long period of time. It was... And so, all that to say is, sure, you could end up with that situation, but it is a complete unknown at this point in time of if that is how they're going to handle it. It's a different coach, a different situation, them wanting to get Dostal playing time, them also probably trying to think that we don't want to run John Gibson into the ground so that he can have favorable results if we're trying to trade him. And so they probably don't want to play him 60 some odd games this season.
But hasn't that been true for years though, and they just have refused to do it?
I mean, this year more so than ever before, there was so much smoke to the deal and so much smoke around all of that. And the fact that Gibson wants a trade basically at this point in time. So that is a completely different element. There's a whole lot of these things of it is a very different situation right now than it has been in years prior. And so I think judging this off of all of those prior years and stating this, John Gibson has always played 10 straight games. So that's going to happen this year. I don't know. Sure.
I mean, it's not crazy.
No, I'm not saying it's not crazy, but I do think it warrants pushback, and it's not this locked in, set in stone.
No, it's not.
Things and that's what change. I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at is that it's a completely different situation this year. And
things could certainly change.
But having said that, I think your point about Alex Stalock being able to come up and ride the bench is a valid one of if that does end up happening, that is an option for Lucas Dostal to go down and play some games. But I think that possibility... I think it's more likely they change up what they do with their rotation, though, as compared to that. So I think more likely than not, Alex Stalock is there as a veteran backup to be in the AHL or to be a backup to Lucas Dostal if John Gibson gets traded. I think that's what it / also, I guess, depth if someone gets hurt.
You're saying that this signing means there's a Gibson trade imminent? Is that what you're saying?
No, that is not what I'm saying at all.
That was like half the reactions I saw.
I think it would be way more imminent if he was a valid NHL backup. I think if they had signed Anthony Stolarz to an extension, I think that it's way more likely Gibson was traded than it is Alex Stalock. Also, side note, it was really messing with me today when I saw Alex Stalock because for whatever reason I kept reading that as like Stolarz.
Yeah, similar names.
And so I saw that I'm like, wait, Stolarz signed with the Panthers, and it took me a minute.
I'm very curious to see what they'll do because you just literally have an odd number of goalies, and I'm curious how they're going to hand out starts and playing time. I think for the AHL guys, you're probably not too happy about this because up until today you were thinking, "Oh, cool, I'm going to be getting a bunch of games in the AHL, and now that's looking less and less likely.
Yeah, I mean,
like just purely from their perspective of Cali.
I think that they want to play
Alexander.
more, and so I think that one of them was not going to play as much. It was that plain and simple. And so I think what this ends up doing is that one of them is now going to go to the ECHL and play a lot more. So I don't know if it's necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm almost done with saying moves or nothing moves with Pat Verbeek, because that's what I said about Nathan Beaulieu last year, and boy, did that burn me.
Yeah.
So I'm like looking at every angle. How is this going to work? Like the whole Robert Hagg thing. The more I think about it, the more I think he's for sure in the NHL. But
well, yeah, he's the 7th D man.
The other piece to this too is that, like, I mean, yes, it's great that they got another body, and if it is purely for the AHL, then even better. But Alex Stalock just had a nice comeback season, but he hasn't ever really been that good.
Yeah,
and so
it's a warm body to ride the bench.
You'd rather see someone come in that can actually play a little bit, but if they could, then maybe they wouldn't be available. So
yeah, and maybe they would not sign a deal at $800K where they could go to the minors.
Yeah, like this is just a great deal for the Ducks, because they take on no risk and they just gain flexibility.
Well, because here's the other part of it is how many teams are looking for goalies right now, right? And if you sign him and expect to probably put him on waivers, he could get claimed. Like in some ways, they're signing a guy that won't get waiver claimed.
He might. He played a lot last year, all things considered.
I doubt it.
Someone just gave him a contract, so I have no clue.
I doubt that he will get waiver claimed at the beginning of the year. That's
that's for sure. I think throughout the course of the season, if he's playing well, that might be trickier. Like that's why I think it's likelier Dostal is the one that is moving around, because
that's also why I think that Stalock is going to be in the minors for most of the year, and it's just going to come up and not necessarily play enough ever to get to need waivers again.
Yeah. I just think if that was my whole thing, is that if you just are purely getting a guy for the minors, then get a minor league goalie. Like Alex Stalock's been an NHL goalie. So anyway, Pat Verbeek had some comments that we should probably touch on.
Yeah.
He had a lot to say, actually.
He did.
This was kind of one of the more candid-ish, totally on a curve here, Pat Verbeek interviews. And at least the big takeaway for me, this was all really about the Ducks prospects and their farm system.
Yep.
The number one response that caught my eye was when he was asked where Leo Carlsson would play next season. And he said, we're going to find the right league. If the NHL is not it, we'll try San Diego. If that's not it, then he'll go back to Sweden. We're just going to wait and see. And I find that fascinating, because that almost seems kind of set in stone. Like, this is the game plan. This is what we're going to do. And I feel like Pat Verbeek is like allergic to giving us straight shooter answers.
Yeah.
And so for him to just kind of give us the playbook here is interesting.
Yeah. And so that's why I think he's for sure starting the year with the Ducks. And then I think that basically says it. If he is not thriving at the NHL, I think they will send him down after 5-6 games to the AHL, probably play maybe 10, 15, 20 games there. I think probably make it to the World Juniors, go play in the World Juniors, and then if kind of they view the best place for him to go to after World Juniors is back to Sweden, then that's kind of the path.
Yeah, are they going to do the Shane Wright thing with Leo Carlsson? Not to the same level,
what do you mean?
Just like basically we're going to hang on to him in our system up until the World Juniors and then release him back to his amateur, I guess it's not an amateur club.
That was a different situation, right? Because of him not being able to go to the AHL. There was like some weird thing where he was able to have a conditioning stint down there, but
they were finagling it pretty hard.
Yeah, with Leo Carlsson, it's not finagling it. It's just simply, okay, we want him to play, and probably also, like, the other part of it is play 30 games with Matt McElvain, right? Like, play that many games, or maybe not 30, but however many it would end up being.
This quote also could be interpreted as saying nothing, because it's like, well, we'll try him everywhere.
We're going to try, yeah.
So
but I think it's a game plan, at least.
It's more of a sequential thing, which is kind of interesting. Yeah. Another thing that Verbeek said was asked about is if Carlsson were to be ready, who moves to the wing, Zegras or McTavish, which you could already kind of quibble with that framing, because it's like, why can't they all play center? But he answered, I don't see McTavish moving to the wing. Probably Zegras is more of a candidate to move to the wing, just because I see Leo as a centerman, a big centerman. Just had to get that in there. I think there's a chance for... Let me just finish the quote. I think there's a chance for him to be really good at both ends of the ice. He's a very smart player at both ends, and he has the range to be able to defend down low. I just see him as having the potential to be a really good two-way player. All of that about Karlsson.
The one thing I'll push back on that question a little bit, in addition to kind of what you said already, as much as Pat Verbeek is the general manager and probably has final say on a lot of things, that is more so a coaching thing than anything else.
Well, it's an organizational philosophy, too, of where do we see this guy that we're about to give a big contract to, where do we see him playing?
Yes.
It's not just coaching.
But I think that the coach is going to make that decision at the end of the day where someone slots in the lineup if he's going to be a wing or a center. And so if they get to a game and they end up thinking that he's going to thrive better as a center and that's what the coach views it as, then he's going to play as a center.
Yeah, I think that we had a really good conversation about this in our Discord, and Patrick, good friend of the show, had a really good point that, and this is something that we've talked about too, where we're in an era of hockey where the positions are way more fluid than they used to be. And even last season where Zegras was playing center at times, he wasn't really playing the traditional center role on his line. He wasn't the one coming down low to support, to do the dirty work defensively. He was more floating out in the defensive zone waiting for a breakout pass. And so I understand the trepidation of, hey, Trevor Zegras has shown his best hockey as a center so far, and that's where he should play. But at the same time, I do just want to pump the brakes a little bit and say that if that's where he ends up playing, there's still a world in where he's very, very effective as a quote-unquote winger. It just all depends on how he's used within the system, what the system is even.
Yeah, I think there's some quibbles, but I think at the end of the day, for me, it's more so what players are he surrounded by, and I think that is very important.
If he's in a position where he is being maximized, where the line setup and his responsibilities on that line are set up to maximize the player that Trevor Zegras is, then I have no issues whether he's a center or wing. I do have issues if he's on the wing like we saw last season, where Dallas Eakins had him on the wing because he just didn't trust him as a center, where he had him there to do less, not really to maximize him. It was always, well, we want him there to take stuff off his plate. We don't want him to have to think about defending, blah, blah, blah. And you're not really teaching a player anything in that scenario. You're just you're basically just giving them less stuff to learn. So it really all just depends. Yeah. I think my own opinion, though, is that I think Trevor Zegras is best at center because of the way he can exploit the middle of the ice, and that's ideally where I would have him. In my ideal world, all three of these guys, Mason McTavish, Trevor Zegras, and Leo Carlsson, are centers, and you run this three-headed monster for the next 10 years of Ducks hockey. But if that doesn't come to fruition, it's also not the end of the world either. It all just depends on how they utilize them.
And I think maybe if you do Leo Carlsson, Trevor Zegras, Troy Terry together. That's a great...
and we saw Zegras with McTavish and Terry last season, too. Mm-hmm. And that line was dominant.
I think a lot of it is Terry and Zegras, just anyone who plays with them thrives.
Yeah.
And so that would be a great way maybe to work Leo Carlsson in. So, and the other takeaway from this that a lot of people had was... A lot of people thought that Pat Verbeek was stating... Or kind of their takeaway was Olen Zellweger is not making the team. And Pavel Mintyukov.
I don't understand how you get that from this.
And so here's the quotes from it, because I want to at least lay out the quotes, because I don't necessarily agree with that takeaway. I know you don't either. But here's the quotes from Pat Verbeek. Is patience is going to be required from everybody, from myself, from the coaching staff, and even from our fans. They're good prospects. They just need time to grow, time to mature. They're so young. It's not an easy league. As I told some of the guys, listen, skill-wise and probably thinking-wise, you can play in the NHL, but strength-wise and speed-wise, you can't. So those are the things that you've got to really get after in the summertime to make sure you're ready for the NHL. And then he added another quote. There's another quote kind of near the end of the article saying, I'm going to be patient with the defense. It's a hard position. I want those guys to be ready. And so I think you could look at that and maybe a guy like Mintyukov. I think you could have a bit more of a takeaway as probably not going to be in the NHL to start next season. Probably is going to have to earn his way up. When you specifically think about the strength and skating side of it, or strength and speed side of it, is I don't know if necessarily that's something Mintyukov has to work on, but I wouldn't necessarily say he's a powerhouse. Olen Zellweger, on the other hand, and this is kind of where I took a little bit of issue with that narrative that was going around, is that dude is a tank. And you watch any sort of edge work drill or any sort of thing that he does, and his edge work, his skating, his speed is all like near the high end of what you would want. And so I don't necessarily know how I would look at that and that quote of saying, but strength-wise and speed-wise, you can't. And think that applies and that he was talking about an Olin Zellweger.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough with these quotes because, of course, it's not exhaustive. Like, there's other stuff, too, that a young defenseman has to do. And I think with Zellweger, it's less about his physical attributes and more of just, is he going to be able to actually play the NHL game at a high enough level defensively where he's not going to be in a coach's doghouse and where he's not getting scratched and this and that. Because I think that if he's in a situation where he's not in the lineup every night for the Ducks, he's going to be in San Diego. That's just... That's it. I think that's the takeaway from these quotes regarding the D is just that if they're not NHL regulars, they're probably going to be goals, which is fine.
Yeah, it's especially if you made this investment in Matt McIlvain like they did.
Exactly, and so I think that now you look at the Ducks defense with Fowler, Gudas, Hag, Colton White, Jamie Drysdale, and I think piecing together some of those names, Urho Vakanainen, that may be closer to what the Ducks blue line will look like come opening night than having a Zellweger, Helleson, Lacombe, having a bunch of youth on there. But, again, my own opinion is also that these guys are really freaking good, and I think they're just going to come in and kind of shock the world a little bit and make the team, regardless of how patient Paverbeek wants to be. Sometimes the young player, like we've seen with Troy Terry over the years, they just forces management's hand. You have to play me. And so I could see that being the case here with these guys. And the Angels just robbed a home run, so that feels great.
Oh, great! I'm
that
not.
Sucks.
You're watching and I'm not. Oh, it's 3-2. Thanks for the update. I didn't even see that. All right. Anything else that we need to cover that we hadn't yet?
No. I mean, I think that there's a lot of stuff going on, and I'm just waiting to see. I guess the last shoes to drop are Drysdale and Zegras. Yeah. And Zegras was interviewed about the contract. Honestly, nothing he said is really worth discussing, but I just think I'm just very curious to see where that ends up because unlike with Troy Terry, we don't have a deadline for that. So that could drag on it kind of indefinitely going into the season. And then with Jamie Drysdale, you figure that that's an easier one to get done.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Oh, the other thing I noticed today, this was very random while I was looking at this, but I went on the Ducks website to just look up articles.
Yes.
And I noticed that they had some stuff about promotional schedule and had something about the 30th anniversary jersey. And I noticed that they said that the sweater will be accompanied, and they said plum, but whatever, but by plum pants, socks, helmets, and gloves.
Yeah. That's not black. Thank God.
Yeah, because wasn't that your biggest thing? You're like, it's gonna be black. They're gonna wear black. It's gonna be boring.
I mean,
with that.
now I have the benefit of being pleasantly surprised. So.
Now the look is gonna be really good, I think.
Yeah, that's really good to hear. The eggplant helmets are just lovely. Yeah. I really hope though, this is now a little bit of a gripe that I have with the reverse retros, the first reverse retros that they had.
Yeah,
is those gloves were just eggplant with white lettering. And if you look back at the Ducks' 20th anniversary eggplant gloves, they had the eggplant gloves with white lettering, but they had the jade trim on the letters, and that just looks so much better. That little extra layer of detail.
Yeah, I could see that.
So I hope that they don't like cut corners here and give us something really nice.
The other piece of jersey news is they're not going to have the orange jersey this year.
Oh.
Because they are calling this a, let's see, the New Jersey will serve as the 8th alternate look in club history, and first debut since the 1819. It also says at the bottom, the 5th alternate jersey made its appearance.
I have to attend to cat duties.
Okay, I will read this and relay to Felix once he's back. The 5th alternate jersey made its initial appearance on October 16th. 2015 and featured an original Mighty Ducks logo set on an orange jersey accented with gold, black, and white trim. The jersey was reintroduced on October 5th, 2019 through 2022-2023.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, so basically the thing said it was reintroduced on October 2019 through the 22-23 season.
Man, that I did not realize. So the eggplant jersey is going to be their third.
Correct. That's what it sounds like.
Wow. Man, I'm surprised they're getting rid of the orange one.
Do we think that it's going away for a year and will come back in some fashion?
I mean, they've done it before, so
as the new home jersey.
I mean, I don't want to keep setting people up for disappointment. So
if the Ducks make the playoffs next year, and this is the biggest hope for if they do, you get to say what home jersey you're wearing.
Oh,
and so it doesn't have to be your home jersey.
They could wear the eggplant.
Would they wear the eggplant jerseys in the playoffs? There's no way they actually would.
There's no way they would, because
there's maybe a 1% chance.
Oh man, that would be so good. Yeah,
that would be so good.
Well, now I'm excited because how many times do you wear?
They're wearing. I think it's like 20 some odd is what I've heard.
Wow.
Yeah, okay. They're gonna wear them in like half of the games.
I'm just glad I don't have to see the Ducks regular jerseys that number of times. That's the big win here.
Yeah. All right. We are an hour in and have not gone over a question, so we should probably do that. What is this? What is this? SB84 said, will Jake... we're going to Discord first, by the way. Will Jake continue to try to butcher the Crone Zone? Why am I butchering the Crone Zone?
I don't know. What is that about?
I don't know, Spencer. Let me know. Olaf is Berserk said, how much better is the Troy Terry contract than the Tom Wilson contract?
A lot. Can someone explain that contract to me?
I know.
I thought he was older than 29. So at first I thought,
he's only 29?
Yeah, he's not actually that old.
Why does he feel like he's like 35?
It's because he's been around forever and he's been in playoffs. He's been on our TVs for a long time. A lot.
He has.
That's he's 29.
Shocking.
But it's still a lot. It's still a crap ton of term for a 29-year-old. So.
Jack Jane said, what's more embarrassing, Jake's Angels losing 6 straight after adding at the deadline, or Felix's Giants getting swept in a 2-game series against the A's?
I can't speak for the Angels, but getting swept by the A's sucked.
I mean, yeah, losing 6 straight sucked, especially the 4 straight.
Well, especially because you guys added. You guys actually made moves. The Giants just I can't even really describe what
and
they
especially
did.
After winning that game in Atlanta and then losing the next 2 and coming. I think the losing 2 of 3 in Atlanta, losing 2 of 3 in Toronto, it wasn't fun, but okay, fine. It's the losing 4 straight to the Mariners was bad.
Well, and also the thing with the Angels is they needed to win. Like the Giants, they got swept 2 games, but they're still well above 500. They're still solidly in the wild card. So
yeah, I mean the Angels.
The Angels, it's like every game is swinging the fan.
Yeah, they've
emotion.
they're now 7.5 games back in the wild card.
Yeah, so
it's not looking good. All right. Shaken Wing said, what will happen now that Lundestrom is injured? Does Silverberg retire? And also said, does Silverberg retire after this year? And he's wondering who scores the most power play goals for the Ducks. So we talked about the Lundstrom industry. So I think it's been confirmed that he's going to go back to Sweden after this year.
Has it been confirmed?
I think that.
I think it's been confirmed that that's what he wants to do. When he's done in the NHL. Yeah.
Yes.
Most power play points. I'm going to say Trevor Zegras.
Power play goals. I'm going with McTavish.
There was points also.
Oh, who scored the most for this past year? Oh, I think that was meant to be for this upcoming season. So
yes.
Yeah, points. Yeah, I'll go with Zegras. Goals, I'll go with McTavish.
And then hot take on the Canadians was also in this question.
Yes.
I'll go Jeff Petrie plays games because that's a thing that happened.
Okay.
The Eric Carlson trade.
Hey, ODFlow said, why has our food and drink channel gone so soft? How can we band together to restore the channel to its prior glory?
I don't know. People just want to say wild shit and have zero consequence for it. That's what this dumb kumbaya movement is about.
That's kind of like it's being taste is subjective.
Well, guess what? If you have an opinion, be prepared to back it up and fight tooth and nail for it.
Or you can just say, this is my taste, deal with it.
It's boring and lame. Okay, next question.
Ducks Jackernet said, I know Pat Verbeek essentially said more or less that Mintyukov and Zellweger won't see much NHL time for development purposes. We pushed back on that a little bit already. But with both having dominated every level they played, what kind of performances would they need to have in San Diego to force Pat Verbeek's hand into bringing them up? Or would he remain stubborn and just let them make a Calder Cup run?
I think they'd have to really dominate. They'd have to be putting up points.
I think it's more so Mintyukov, but yes.
They'd have to, dominate, put up points, play a two-way game, and also you need the NHL guys to not be so exciting. So, yeah.
OG Leo Carlson Truther said, "Who's Felix taking at 1.12? So in our fantasy football draft."
I don't know. I have done zero fantasy prep.
I have not done any either. First place Asian followed up saying, "Who is Felix taking at 2.1?"
Yeah, they have the snake draft.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
All right. Fashion Pariah Plant Ranch said, "Favorite vacation you've ever been on?"
Ooh. Probably like vacations as a kid of like going to the beach house. Because I feel like when you're a kid, the beach is just like the best thing ever. So those childhood memories probably.
I think probably the Europe trip I did in 2016. I proposed to my now wife. Then we did a stadium tour of Tottenham. We went to two Tottenham matches, went around London.
Then the trip became about you.
Went to Naples and visited her cousin and had some of the best food we've ever had in Naples. Then went to Rome and had some of the best lasagna we've ever had and went around Rome.
Nice.
It was an amazing trip. That's probably one of my favorite vacations, especially when we were in Naples, kind of had some relaxing time on the beach, kind of mixed in with kind of more city type trip. So it was really nice. One of my favorite vacations. Ferdinand said, "Does the Stalock signing mean I get to watch Dostal on the goals this year? At least to start, especially considering Dostal's contract is two-way this season." No, I don't think the two-way and one-way thing really matters when it comes to Dostal.
I think he means, if he's talking about the waiver thing, then I don't think the Stalock signing does that, but Dostal's probably going to play some games in the
Well, I think
AHL
he's also
this year.
meaning with two-way with the fact that it's less money in the AHL.
Yeah.
So the Ducks pay less. But no, I think that Dostal starts the season on the Ducks. I think Stalock starts the season on the goals.
Yeah.
Let's see. Fashion Pariah Plant Wrench also updated odds on Tatar and Kane signing with the Ducks. Kane is at 0%. Tatar?
0-0.
You think 0? I'll go with 5%. SP84 said, "Are we human?" And Lou said, "Are we dancer?"
I don't know.
Our signs are vital. Our hands are cold. Ducks Jaggernaut said, "The year's 2024. The month is June. We've just watched another team hoist the Stanley Cup, and we celebrate what we widely consider a remarkably successful Duck season. What happened to make it so?"
For this upcoming season.
To be remarkably successful. Greg Cronin had this team performing in the way that the talent should have been performing.
Greg Cronin wins the Jack Adams. The Ducks, I'm not going to say make the playoffs, but be the team that we think they can be.
Yes.
And play.
They are who we thought they were.
Like, just that the Ducks become this kind of narrative darling because of their improved play. And also maybe you have an Olin Zellweger in the Calder Calder race. I mean, the list of rookies this season is kind of insane.
Yeah.
So that would be fun. But I think that's what it would be. Is the Ducks really just fulfilling this kind of potential that we keep talking about?
Yep. All right. Tybalt said, "Is there any possible way the Ducks season can be more disappointing or frustrating than the Angels?" No. Just no. No.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it.
SP84 said, "Will the Ducks score at least 246 goals?"
Is that their total from last year?
I don't know, but that is 3 goals per game.
Sure. I don't really pay attention. Oh, damn it, Lou just spoiled what just happened for me. Gosh darn it. It's okay. This is why you don't watch sports while doing podcasts. But
oh, man.
How is my stream so far behind?
Oh, I'm not watching the stream. I just looked at the score.
Oh, there we go. Patrick Bailey. Oh, my gosh.
Okay, can we keep going here?
Best catcher in baseball. Oh, that was to load the bases.
Can we keep going here?
Tie game, 3-3, 4-3. Will it be 5-3?
Can we keep going here? All right, I'm moving on. Rank Luno, Warren, Hellison, Lacombe, Zellweger, and Minchukov in order of best to worst ceilings.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Luno, Warren, Hellison, Lacombe, Zellweger, Minchukov in order of best to worst ceilings.
Best ceiling is Minchukov? Is Zellweger in there? You said it really fast. Okay.
Yes.
Number 1 is Minchukov because I think best case scenario Minchukov has just a lot more runway than Zellweger, but I'll put Zellweger number 2. Number 3, I'll put Luneau. Granted, that's maybe a little aspirational. And then after that, Lacombe and Hellison.
And what about, where'd you have Warren?
Warren?
Last?
I mean, if Noah Warren becomes like Noah Warren has a lot of potential because of his athleticism and size. So I might have him ahead of like a Lacombe or Hellison, honestly, because this is all potential based.
Yep.
Like he could become like a monster shutdown defenseman.
Yeah. Ferdinand said the Carlson deal has to mean that the Ducks are at worst second to last place in the Pacific, right? I can't see how the Ducks are ranked behind the Sharks in any reasonable projection for the 23-24 season.
I mean, I don't know.
Yes.
Yes. So we're saying that because of the Carlson trade, the Ducks are locks to finish ahead of the Sharks?
Correct.
I don't know if that's like the thing with the Sharks is they got a lot of NHLers back. They have NHL bodies on their team.
They still lost a guy that was one of the best players at 5.
I mean, he was also one of the worst defensive players in the NHL. So
but
he was giving it back. I'm gonna say that it's not a lock. The Ducks are better than anyone in the Pacific Division.
I'll go with yes, because why not?
I mean, here's their top 9: Barabanov, Hurdle, Zetterlund, Hoffman, Couture, Duclair, Sturm, Zadina, Peterson, and I think this is before adding in the guys they traded. They got Jan Ruda on the back end. I don't know. Like, this is a team that's... it's really hard for me to say the Ducks are better than anyone after last season. So, there might be a little bit of that to this.
All right. And we've got, actually, I have a question in a text message. It's from my cousin's daughter, who over the last, I think, year or two has become a very big Ducks fan.
Wow.
And now listens to the podcast. She is in high school. And so I wanted to give a massive shout out to Sydney. She said, "Hi, Uncle Jake. I have 2 questions for the next episode of the podcast. I can't listen and ask live because we're out of town, but so I thought I would ask it now. What do you think the key to Trevor Zegras' game improving what do you think the key is to Trevor Zegras' game improving? Will he need to have better line mates or working on his attitude towards the game and staying out of the box?"
Well, that's a great question. Thank you for the question. I think that I'm gonna go a little theoretical here. I think that Trevor Zegras needs to touch the puck more. He needs more puck touches because when Trevor Zegras has the puck on his stick,
yes,
good things happen. So the question is, how can you get him to increase his touches? And I think that part of that is going to be for him to get stronger so that he can win more battles. Part of that too, though, is going to have to. Oh wow, the Giants! Part of that is also him just being in a system and being with line mates where he's going to have opportunities to get the puck more often. So building a line in a way where he's going to be getting the puck a lot.
Yes.
So if there's really one way for him to get better, kind of one stat, it's just get the puck more.
And I think that comes down to coaching and putting him in those positions to thrive in that as compared to misunderstanding who he is. She had one other question. She said, "Do you think that McTavish, Zegras, Strome, and Carlson, if he plays in the NHL, will be in a center and wing a rotation for the beginning portion of the season to see where they will fit best?" I'll jump on this real quick. I think that probably McTavish will stay at center. I don't think he'll rotate to wing at all based upon Verbeek's comments. I think Carlson, if he's in the NHL, is going to be a center also. Strome will be on the wing. I don't think Strome will be playing center much this season. Zegras, I think, will swap between center and wing, though.
Yeah, I think that I could see that being the case.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go to Twitter DMs, and then we will go to Twitch and YouTube. I'm avoiding Discord right now because I don't want to see the Angels stuff because it hurts.
Giants up 6-3, going into the bottom of the 9th. Camilo Doval, one of the best closers in baseball.
The Angels are going to lose 7 straight. This season's done. All right. Let's see.
I feel bad. Like, I'm not really enjoying this.
You should.
Like, it doesn't do anything for me to beat the Angels. Like, they're not a rival of the Giants.
Thanks. I mean, beat them in the O2 World Series.
Well, no,
but Hockey South asked, August is here.
I mean,
hope
congrats.
You're staying cool.
Congrats on that from like 20 plus years ago.
For the next pod, should Terry be a fixture this season on the PK like Aho is for Carolina? Great players play both. Why not Terry?
Wait, what?
Should Terry be on the penalty kill?
Sure. Why not?
Yeah. Let's see. I have this question from Trevor Zebra said, do you think Verbeek is on the hot seat if the Ducks finish bottom 5 next season?
No. I think he has one more year of kind of just no expectations, really.
Yeah. And then he brings up the quote about Zegras being the candidate to move to wing and says, does that Verbeek comment lead us to believe that Verbeek will be playing wing next year? No, I don't think it necessarily. That Zegras will be playing wing.
No,
Sorry.
No.
I don't think that means that.
It's just more of a long-term outlook kind of thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Also,
exactly.
our Discord is just, the Angels fans are just melting down. It's kind of funny. Oh. Anyway.
This is not fun. Oh. This is not fun at all.
You guys had 0-2.
All right, here we go. We're gonna go to Twitch and YouTube. If you're in the Twitch chat or the YouTube chat and you want to just stop watching the Angels and only watch us, put questions in the chat. If you're listening on your favorite podcast services, though, you can find us each and every time we go live at twitch.tv/crashpond or youtube.com/crashpond. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free Twitch Prime gaming sub each and every month, and you can be just like Ken Pafu, resub for the 41st month, and Ducks Jaggernaut, who resubbed for 10 months, and support the show in ways more than you can imagine. Or if you are not on Twitch and you're on YouTube, and yes, you listening to this episode right now, all of us are on YouTube. Everyone uses YouTube, as Felix is putting his hands up because of the Giants-Angels game, and I feel very sad right now.
They still only have one out.
If you want to make me feel less sad, go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/crashpond. Like our videos, subscribe to the channel. To find our live videos, you just have to go to the live tab. All of the streams are up there. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment there. I see all of them, so thank you all so much for that. So we have this one from Miguel Gutierrez. 4 years from now, which deep prospects do you still see on the team?
Ooh, great question. Honestly, I think the only ones you can confidently say are Zellweger and Mintukov. I think everyone after that, it's
Drysdale.
Like, is he he's not a prospect though.
I mean, he's
not. He's an NHLer.
Let me rephrase this. In 4 years, which D-men are on this Ducks team?
Okay. Sure, you can throw Drysdale in there. I think Fowler's contract is done at that point.
I was trying to remember. I was trying to look, when does Fowler's contract
He has 4 more years, so that's exactly when his contract ends.
So will Cam Fowler get an extension?
Does he just retire after that? I mean, how old is he going to be when his contract expires? Oh, yes, 7-3, baby.
You know, you don't have to announce every
Here's
word,
the thing,
every thought that comes into your head.
The Giants have had zero offense.
Everyone.
They've had zero offense the last 3 weeks, so this is really enjoyable. I think I could see Fowler signing out the contract though to finish out his career.
Yeah. Let's see. DB Lowry said, which Greek tragedy best describes Anaheim sports? Sisyphus seems too basic. I don't know Greek tragedies that well.
Okay, yeah, that's a question for you because you're the Anaheim sports fan.
Well, I don't know Greek. Do you know Greek tragedies that well? Because I don't.
I mean, I know the Sisyphus one where he rolls up the rock every day and it rolls back down.
Oh, it's definitely Sisyphus.
Yeah,
it's that. Yeah. Let's see. Connor McVoy asks, "Are you going OCI right now, Felix? Good luck if so." I don't know what that means.
I don't know if that's referring to something on a law school thing. But thank you. I'm not interviewing for anyone right now.
Okay,
if that's the question. But thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Lou. It looks like I don't see any questions necessarily. I know there were some earlier, but I can't really find them. But anything you want to add, as if people want to put questions into the chat and they can linger in. Anything you want to add, anything you want to say, anything you want to get off your chest, seeing as we haven't been live for 2 weeks.
Yeah, baseball's in full swing. It's good to see my team getting some points on the board. There's still only one out in this game. There's 2 outs now.
I think I can go back to not paying attention to the Angels. I think it will be better for my mental health.
It's actually really funny that this happens to the Angels every year.
Thanks.
This year might be worse though because
this year's definitely worse because they were playing so well.
Yeah, Also there's everything with Ohtani, and they made all these moves, and it just won't matter. So
Wait, did you say points?
I may have said points. Blake Sable, yes. Make it 8-3. 8 points on the board.
All right, at least you said points.
Points, baby. Just
all right.
points.
Anything else you want to talk about?
No. That's kind of all I've got. School's about to start back up for me, so here we go again. It's about to get busy, but I may try to get out to the prospect tournament in Vegas. We'll see. Can't confirm or deny. Exciting times ahead. We still... Yeah. Do you want to make a Ziegler-Drysdale prediction?
They both signed this month.
That's not much of a prediction, but okay. I'll say that one of them signs before our next podcast.
Wow. Yeah. The only thing for me was last week was my son's first birthday, so
there you go.
It was a very, very good time. So happy birthday to him. He is now 1 year old. I cannot believe he is 1 year old.
Yeah. Well, wait till he's like 18.
Thanks.
When are you going to get him on skates? I feel like you're letting him down as a hockey parent.
He can't walk.
Hey, most NHLers start skating at 2, so you're running out of time here.
Am I? Wait, he just turned 1. How am I running out of time?
You have a year. You just said it goes by fast.
How am I running out of time? He can't even walk yet.
I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like, damn, you could be molding an NHLer right now, but you need to get on your horse. You have a year. You have a year.
This kid is actually relatively well coordinated.
There you go. So what's
he's
your
able
excuse?
to put a little basketball in his basketball hoop and knows where it goes and is able. Yeah, he's very, very coordinated when it comes to that type of
get
stuff.
a stick in his hand. Get a mini sticks, little toy ball that you can hit.
I
around.
will eventually. I got him a toy baseball and a toy bat when we went to the Angels.
Damn,
game.
You want him to be a baseball player? Official.
I mean, he used it.
You had one job to develop a hockey player.
I mean, I feel like actually playing baseball would be the better long-term plan for me.
Correct. But we want to see him skate. We want to see him, OV Junior style.
I mean, he can't walk.
I'm just saying, time's ticking.
He can't walk.
Yes. So what? Get him on skates.
I feel like that's dangerous.
Well, no,
when he puts his foot in his mouth.
Well, no, but you get him. You get him the little support thing that they, you have your skates on, but you have the thing you put your hands on.
How is he supposed to stand on skates?
You hold him. Be a parent.
When he crawls.
Hold him.
He wants to sit down and crawl. This all seems like an awful idea.
Hold him up, help him, guide him, and he'll be flying around before you know it.
All right, give me a minute here.
What are you looking up?
I'm not looking up anything.
So what am I giving you a minute for?
Just give me a minute. Let me see something. I'm gonna run this by my wife.
Well, I'm not. Hey, you can't hold me to this.
Let me see if she'll actually come here.
Why? Why are you?
I need to ask her so she can give her opinion on your statement.
What's my statement even? What did I really say?
That he should be on skates.
Get him on skates. Get him on the little double-bladed skates. You can't fall with those. And if you do, oh well. Get back up. That's the lesson.
Wait, what do you mean by double-bladed skates?
This is the difference between someone who grew up in Canada and someone who didn't, I feel like. Little kids, they give them the skates that have 2 blades so that it makes it easier for them to stand up.
It's like 4 wheels on rollerblades.
Kinda. It's not. It's two blades of metal on
Monica,
a skate.
come here so the microphone can pick you up. Felix is saying that we should get Luke on skates right now. That we're doing him a disservice by
I did not say that. I did not say that. That is now getting wild.
She went, Luke's like this big. He's as big as a skate.
Get him on skates. Within the year is what I'm saying.
Within the year, he said.
Once he hits 2, he's gotta be on skates.
He'll
love it. He'll love being on the ice.
Yeah, he needs to learn to walk first and stand without holding onto something.
Well, why isn't he walking yet? Whose feet does that land at? Who's in a position to teach him how to walk?
I mean, here's the thing with this kid. He can squat up and down like nothing else. He can do it with barely holding on to anything. He just doesn't want to take those steps. He's got the strength. I know he does.
Just tell him, hey, kid, one foot in front of the other. Walk. Everyone does it.
You want to come down here and teach him?
I'll teach him how to play hockey. I can do that. Put me in, coach. But yeah,
okay.
You got to get him skating. You have this very narrow window of creating an NHL phenom.
He can't walk.
I understand. I'm saying you have the year. 2 years old that's the date that he has to be skating by.
You're getting torched in our Twitch chat, by the way.
Am I?
Kinda. All right. If you want to wrap this thing up,
he doesn't need to be a full-on skater by 2. He just needs to be learning to skate by 2. Hopefully that makes sense.
Sure.
Okay. Well, on that note, did not see that coming, but thank you for listening, everyone. Hope everyone's on my side, according to DP Lowry. I think we're all on Felix's side. There we go. We want to see you have the next Ducks prodigy. Imagine that.
Okay.
Imagine that. This is about do this for you. Don't do this for him. I mean, a lot of hockey parents, you could argue, aren't really doing it for their kid.
100%. They're all doing it for them.
And just watch the video of Mitch Marner as a kid with his dad, just screaming at him along the glass. So I don't know who is that really about the kid. If you're screaming at your kid in any sporting event, like who am I to tell someone else how to parent? But that's just not it. Like it's just not it. It's about having fun. So I hope that you, Jake, and your journey as a sports parent do not become like that.
I won't. I just want Luke to have fun.
What's your little league dad attire gonna be? Bucket hat, sun hat,
baseball hat. Probably exactly what I'm wearing right now. To be fair, like shorts that are I think these are 6-inch shorts, 6-inch inseam shorts, baseball hat, floral shirt.
There you go.
Let's be real.
Yeah,
and sandals.
What's the big hat called? The big sun hat?
Oh.
You should get one of those. Oh, I think I see it in your background. Lou was asking why would anyone wear a bucket hat because it looks cool. It's just silly and dumb.
I think I have
there we go. That's like a pool hat or something. Yeah. I don't know what to call those.
I've got a lot of these.
Yeah, you should wear the hats. It's a little league game. Hey, it's usually hot and sunny, so you want protection while still looking stylish. Nothing wrong with that.
What?
Nothing. All right.
Okay.
We should get out of here.
We definitely should.
Thanks for listening, everyone. If you want to support our show, go find us on Patreon, patreon.com/crashthepond. For $1 subscription a month, you get access to our Discord server. It's a lot of fun there. So that's just for $1. For $5, you get 2 bonus podcasts, which we still need to record this month.
It's only the 7th.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's at patreon.com/crashthepond. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a rating and a review there. We greatly appreciate those. We're also on Spotify, YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Find our website, crashthepond.com. Follow the Sporting Tribune. Follow Jake on Twitter or on X.
I'm not calling it X. I refuse.
It's so Twitter. Stupid.
It's Twitter. It's Twitter.
X Pro. TweetDeck is now called X Pro.
It's Twitter.
You're not going to repost. You're not going to repost my
I
X?
am calling it Twitter. I'm not changing the icons on here. They're staying as birds. It's Twitter. I don't care.
Oh, it is really funny how screwed up a situation that is.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing still works. It works fine now. It just looks stupid with that dumb X logo.
It looks like the VRBO logo, just with an X instead of a V.
Yeah, it's dumb. It's very dumb.
All dumb.
Also, public service announcement. Oh, Giants win. There we go. Public service announcement. I'm as happy as anyone to see Lionel Messi in North America. I'm happy. Genuinely. It's good for the sport. But can we please stop acting like everything he does play against competition that's like at at least 7 tiers lower than what he's used to.
It's the timing of it.
Can we just stop?
It's the quality.
Can we stop kowtowing?
But the free kicks.
Sure. Like, it's hard to do.
Show me someone that scores that free kick.
I
or
get
someone
it.
that saves that free kick in any league.
I agree.
That is a goal in every single league.
I agree. But there's just this general tenor of, walking on water. And I just let's have some respect for the guys he's playing against.
Here's the good news. This forces everyone to raise their game.
Yeah. I mean, him being in North America is a net good for the sport in North America, but I also think that I personally am maybe just a grouch and I'm just not that impressed.
You're 100% a grouch.
But I will say that the free kicks, yes. If you want to go that route, sure.
Yeah, and two of his big goals have been free kicks.
And I have been beating you in FIFA. So, how long will you duck me?
Do we play tonight?
I'm down.
Okay. All right, let's get out of here.
Okay, on that note, thank you for listening, everyone. Have a great rest of your week, and go Giants.
Go Angels. Bye!